Yo, what up, though? Welcome, everybody, to Giants Weekly. It's a place where we're just going to chop it up about the New York football Giants, our New York football Giants. Very excited this year. Big game coming up Sunday in Landover, Maryland / Washington, D.C. Giants, Redskins, Brian Daboll, redemption year. Joe Shane, redemption year. New blood, new quarterback room, right? We all know that. Russell Wilson, the starter. News today came down. Jackson Dart elevated to number 2. Slightly worried about that. Not about him, just in terms of elevating him to number 2. Because I do want them to tread very, very, very lightly with him. And I've said this in the past, and we'll get more into that in a little bit, but I want to see a Jordan Love behind Aaron Rodgers type of deal. A Aaron Rodgers behind Brett Favre type of deal. Eli Manning and Kurt Warner's a bad example. But just them being the understudy, so to speak, of Jackson Dart being the understudy of Russell Wilson. I understand if the Giants crap out in week 5 or 6, they're, I don't know, 1-4 or 1-5 or 2-1, if they have a bad record, then you're probably going to get Jackson Dart in there because Daboll's going to want to save his job. Shane's going to want to save his job. And they have a way to extend their shelf life because they drafted this new guy. You don't want to draft the kid, put him in there, get him adapted to the Daboll system, get him comfortable, and then boom, switch the playbook and the coach on him. That's not something you want to do. But fingers crossed everything goes well. We'll get to see him. We'll get to see him maybe next year or even the year after. Wishful thinking, but I got confidence in Russell Wilson. I think Russell's going to play a lot better than we expect. We've on previous shows we went through the tenure in Denver and the tenure with the Steelers. I think Russell the last couple of years has played a lot better than people are giving him credit for. Check the stats, passing yards, just control of the offense. Even touchdowns, even leadership wise, and listen, Sean Payton. Whatever happened with him and Sean Payton in Denver, kind of switched up, and even to a lesser degree in the end in Seattle with Pete Carroll. You kind of heard the narrative switch up from Russell Wilson to this squeaky clean golden boy type of image to the narrative becoming he's selfish, he's only out for himself, with the private office and being aloof from his teammates, and the narrative kind of seemed like he was a me first guy. I'm here to tell you that ain't the case with the Giants. He's went above and beyond, right? I think above and beyond everything Daboll asked, being a mentor to Dart, being a good teammate, knowing that he's on borrowed time, supposedly, but still embracing that role, still being an elder statesman to the young boy. And you got to respect that. And I think, and I'm rooting for Russell Wilson. I want him to have a good year. I want him to have a fantastic year. I'm very excited to see what he can do. Shout out to Daniel Jones, and we know he's the quarterback of the Colts for the time being. He's won that starter job. Good for him. And I don't like to hate on Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones did the best he can do here. There were a lot of situations that hampered him. I think it was a combination of injuries, the regime prior to Daboll and Shane, a bad offensive line, And I think, even John Mara said they did everything they could to sabotage this kid, and I believe that, and I also believe that he had a ceiling on his talent, and I think with the lack of stability and the lack of offensive line and the lack of weapons and the coaching and the general manager prior to Shane and Dable, I think that all played a part. But that's neither here nor there. This quarterback room is phenomenal, phenomenal. I love it. The experience, the camaraderie, the you know tutelage that Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson is bestowing upon Jackson Dart. And man, I wasn't sure about that Jackson Dart when he first drafted him. But listen, this could turn out to be a generational quarterback and one hell of a pick. This is Dable's diamond in the rough. This is his last ace in the deck. This is calling all costs for him, and I think this is going to work out because I do think Dable can coach. And I argue with some of my coworkers or some of my people is they think Dable's a little bit overrated. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna co-sign the quarterback whisperer moniker that he's inherited or adapted or earned. But like I said, love the QB room. Very, very excited about the running back room. Don't forget, man, we got Tyrone Tracy. And when Saquon Barkley got traded, I know everyone was like doom and gloom, and I didn't want to see him go. I'm a huge, huge Saquon guy, but I understood the business of football. We all remember Giants hard knock. John Mara saying, I don't know if we trade him down the road. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep at night. And then he goes to the Eagles and just balls out MVP type of year, wins the Super Bowl, could have broke the record against the Giants for most rushing yards. Chooses to not play certain games to preserve himself for the playoffs. You're like, wow, as much as I want to hate on Saquon for being an Eagle, it's part of me that just roots for him, man. And obviously not in a division and not playing against the Giants, but he wanted to be a Giant. We fronted on him. And there's a part of me that wants that wants Saquon to do well. But I said and asked my partners when we drafted Tyrone Tracy, I did the knowledge on this kid, and I said this kid is going to be phenomenal. And I know last year they kind of had some fumbling issues, but that's fixable. Tiki Barber once upon a time had fumbling issues. He wound up being the all-time Giants leading rush leader and a very, very, very good legendary running back for the Giants. Shout out to Tiki Barber. Devin Singletary, solid back, workhorse. And we're excited to see Cam Scatterbo. So see what he can do. That's going to be very interesting. I think that kid has a lot of potential. Obviously, you got to go out there and do it. Didn't see too much of him in preseason. They were preserving him. He had the injury. And, obviously the playbook is very vanilla in the preseason. You're not going to see a lot of the packages that installed, obviously, because they don't want to tip their hand. Was a little concerned with them not adding another receiver. Yes, I understand that they re-signed Slayton. Slayton, we've been over this. I think a solid number 2. Could they have upgraded? Yeah, but Slayton, when he's healthy, we've seen him in the past give you 700 yards, maybe with a healthy Russell Wilson and this newfound quarterback competence. You might be able to get 800 from him on a good note. He can be a deep threat at times. We also have Wan'Dale Robinson, a guy who plays the slot and gets all the underneath stuff, short field stuff. We've seen him go run some plays were considered to be deep, 20 yards or more, right? In the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus, is considered a deep pass. So we've seen him with those plays. So that's exciting. Would have liked to get another bona fide veteran receiver in here. Excuse me. But that didn't happen. But We have the emergence of rookie Bo Collins. He caught a couple of nice touchdowns. He looks like he can stretch that field out a little bit. Jalen Hyatt. Man, I really wanted Jalen Hyatt to work, and I hope he does work. We'll see. Didn't see too much of him in preseason, but fingers crossed on Jalen Hyatt, man, because he, like I've always said, he's the Deshaun Watson. Excuse me, the Deshaun Jackson of our team. Just the guy that's going to get downfield, the super burner, taking the top off of defense. That's his potential. Now, I think this is his last year. He has to prove to live up to it. We know him and the extra work Russell Wilson has done in the offseason. And then the whole thing with Malik Neighbors. Listen, I don't want to say I'm concerned about it, but it's something to keep your eye on. We know Malik Neighbors is a superstar. I expect Malik Neighbors to ball out this year. I expect him to be a top 3 to 5 receiver, 3 and more on the high end at the 3. Solid tight end room. Theo Johnson, Daniel Bellinger, Manhurts. Offensive line, I think it's more solid than we think. Illuminor and Andrew Thomas bookending that at the right and left tackle. Runyon, Schmitz, and Van Rotten, and then, see what Evan Neal. This is his last year. This is the final countdown for him. Isudo's in there. We got some depth with James Hudson, Stinney. Do I think this is a top 10 offensive line? No, I do not. But I think it's going to be a lot better than people think. And call me a Giants homer. Call me, call me whatever you want to call me. But I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised this year. I really, really, really believe that. Like in the young kid, Mbao, that looks like a steal in the draft. Defense, we already know the defense could be. Because we got some studs rolling out there, man. From Dexter Lawrence to Brian Burns. The linebacker called Cherokee McFadden, Thibodeau, or Cherokee McFadden. Got to make sure we stop that run this year. Thibodeau. I still have a lot of faith in him. Some people are down on him. I have a lot of faith in Thibodeau, and I think he's going to have a bounce back. Yeah, I think he's looking around and seeing Brian Burns. He's looking around and seeing Abdul Carter, and obviously I didn't mention Abdul Carter, but we all know what Abdul Carter is. And I think he's going to say, yo, what's up with me? And with this, it might be the first year we get two giant DBs with double-digit sacks. So that'd be amazing. If I had to put my money on it, I'd say maybe it's Burns and maybe it's Burns and Abdul Carter. So, like I said, I obviously Sexy Dexy. You got Noches in there. We're gonna see what we get from the rook Darius Alexander. I was high on him. We're gonna get to see what he's doing this year. You bringing some depth in Chauncey Golston. I love that. We all know Paulson Adebo, super great pickup. Javon Holland, great pickup in the secondary. Deonte Banks, watch him have a bounce back year. We're going to see the first year Deonte Banks, not the second year Deonte Banks. And then Drew Phillips in the nickel or the slot. So excited, man. You don't even understand. I'm excited, and I think they beat. I think they beat Washington, man. I really, really think that. Now, I'm not sure if Washington has regressed. We're gonna definitely find that out. We are definitely gonna find that out. This is the greatest week of football, man. The opening week, the air is starting to get crisp. You could feel football in the air. Baseball's rounding off. We're getting ready to get some great baseball in here. Playoff baseball with the Mets and the Yankees. You know what I mean? Just a great time of year, We'll see. Washington, yeah, they added Debo. They got Terry and Debo. We know Terry's a little disgruntled, but we'll see. Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, obviously JD5. So they got some players on offensive line. You know what I mean? Defensively as well, Armstrong and and Wise, Kinlaw. Don't forget they got Javon Kinlaw, former Jet, Darian Payne. So they're not bad, man. I expect Dan Quinn to have them coached up real well, and I think the Cowboys took a step back. Obviously, with the Micah Parsons thing, there are some Cowboy fans that don't seem to think so. I'm not in that school. I'm in the school of you give away generational talent. Yeah, I understand you got 2 number ones, but I'm talking about strictly this year. That's you're taking a step back, in my opinion. And the Eagles, we expect the Eagles to be good, but I do believe the Giants have a chance to be second in this division and make a playoff push. If not, we're gonna see the future in the middle of the season, and the future is no other than Jackson Dart. What a perfect name. Dart, throwing darts in the end zone. Dart to Slayton. Oh, what a dart by Jackson Dart. You're going to hear all of those iterations of play on his last name and everything. But Washington Giants football is back. Week 1. You can feel it in the air. Get your Giants shit. This is my Daniel Jones joint, but I got my throwbacks in my closet. So you're gonna see a lot, man. I'm excited. The talk is over. Great off season, great preseason, but preseason is preseason. We know that. Great training camp, but what? The training camp is training camp. You can't put too much stock into that. But if you're a Giants fan, if you're Giants upper management, you gotta like what you saw this off season, man. Quiet, buttoned up, not a lot of noise. The aura of going about business. Something felt like in the air, like it changed. Sometimes other than the player personnel and what they look like on paper, there's just a feeling in the air of change. And it felt like that this year. It really, really did, and it could just be me being a homer, but I really believe there's going to be change. So, yeah, man, I want to know your thoughts. We're going to get back to these calls very, very soon. Get back to these lives. It's amazing. Giants, see you Sunday night for postgame. Peace.